All right, Coach, with everything Tom Brady has working, let's call it against him, with the roster, with his age, with trying to motivate yourself for this season, what do you think his biggest challenge will be as he gets ready to start training camp again?
Well, the best thing he has going for him is his perspective, and you hear it in what he says in terms of everybody starts at the same place. You start over so many teams that win, and we talked about this when the Eagles were in that position. They don't understand that you don't get to start where you finished, and you've got to start over. And I think Tom does a great job of that, and the organization does a great job of resetting the clock. Now, to me, the biggest challenge is Belichick's role defensively. And he's had a role defensively there, but it's a little bit different this time around. I do believe he's going to have to be much more involved than he has historically. And one of the great things that Bill does is he's the head coach of the whole team. And he makes sure that things are going right in every aspect. He understands what's happening on every special team, who's part of it, same thing offensively and defensively. And he does play a role for Tom and the offense of giving a defensive perspective on what they should do offensively, and there's real value to that. Now, if his time is more committed to the defense, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that as well as he has historically done it. And I don't see someone in that building who's really going to be able to take that over right away. Now, he's got his son, Stephen Belichick, there, and at some point maybe he's in line for that. But for this period right now, he's got a big commitment.
Well, and roster-wise, with the things you listed, they have change at left tackle and they have questions at the wide receiver core. Those are the headlines. That is exactly what the headlines were last season, right? Trent Brown was the questionable left tackle after Nate Solder had gone out. They had a left tackle. He then became the highest-paid left tackle ever. Last year, they had a new left tackle. He then became the highest-paid left tackle ever. You have questions there. This year, they think it'll be Isaiah Wynn, the kid they drafted in the first round last year. He got hurt, I think, he tore his Achilles in the preseason last year. And the wide receiver questions this year are the same, except you don't also have Gronk to rely on. Like, it's still Julian Edelman and a bunch of guys. Now, they did draft N'Keal Harry in the first round, first-round pick. They've spent on a wide receiver in a bit of time, and so they obviously think he will be able to contribute at some point. But Chris has talked about a bunch that of all the positions in the league, wide receivers near the top of the list of most difficult to make an instant impact early on in your rookie year, especially in a system like the Patriots. So it would be foolish for me to say they can't overcome these issues when last year Brady had statistically the worst year he's had in at least 5 years, through the most picks he had thrown in almost a decade. They had questions at wide receiver all year long. They had a losing record on the road, all these red flags, and they won the damn Super Bowl. Like, they were, by the end of the year, they were right there, if not for the crazy Miami finish. They somehow end with the 1 seed last year, which would have been bananas. They still got a bye, even though they were 3-5 on the road, and they found a way to go into Kansas City and have a late fourth quarter comeback and then win that game in overtime. So I do think there are real roster questions like there were last year, and I think not having Gronk as a blocker and as a big play, big moment guy makes you worse than if he's on the team. But are they the favorites in the AFC? They're certainly right there, because at this point the history and the repeated success is unquestionable.
But last year, CC, they did it with a time of possession, defense-led team that got them through the playoffs. It wasn't like we're going to just rely on Tom Brady. Is that the way you have to look at it heading into this season now? You got to rely on that defense, rely on time of possession, and understand that Tom Brady's 42 years old. He's not going to have the same season he's had the last couple of years?
Yeah, I'm not like most people. I like their roster. Absent of their wide receiver core being weak, which has been weak for a long time, if you look at Belichick, where has he failed to develop players, and that's wide receivers. Now, he'll develop some slot receivers, put a little guy in the slot, have him run some three-way breaks and get them open, because they don't have one guy right now they can call a play for and say, my guy is better than your guy. They depend on the system. They depend on whatever type of talent they have in the system as a wide receiving core. So besides that, I like their roster. Their secondary is the best in football. Their defense will be a top 5 defense as far as yards and points scored. So, yes, I like what they're doing. They're not going to go back to 2000 when they broke all the scoring records. No, they're not going back to that. What you saw week number 15, 16, 17, and in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl is what you're getting ready to see in 2019. He's going to take advantage of that roster. He realizes he has the oldest quarterback in the league. He is not going to jeopardize that left tackle to be taken advantage of. And they do this all the time. Their best position coach, Dante Scarnecchia, will do an amazing job. How do I know that? Because I've been watching football. And there's no one as good as coaching up football players as what they do in New England. I do understand what you're saying is this staff has been stressed out by people pulling for him, part of the staff going to Miami. They will feel it this year, but them having an under-talented wide receiving core, this is not the guys they'll have in December. All right? You will see a rotation. Veteran guys getting cut, them trying to find someone, they will do patchwork to try to get some productivity out of the wide receivers coach.
And I don't think people appreciate the fact that them drafting a wide receiver in the first round, like how historically significant that is.
Right.
The last time Bill Belichick drafted a wide receiver was Derek Alexander in 1995 in the first round. I mean, I was there. I was in Cleveland when
and after the way he played, he said, I'll never do it again.
Him and Antonio Lang were the 2 first-round draft picks, and he didn't draft another wide receiver since. So he is trying to address that. In terms of the left tackle, Dante is going to do a great job. And you've got a guy who's been there for a year. I know he's hurt, but at least he's not truly a rookie. It's different going through all those meetings, experiencing a town.
And I do believe Isaiah is more talented than the tackle who left.
Yeah, he's got a lot of ability.
Yes.
And Trent played significantly better than anticipated, and a lot of that goes to Dante. I do think that the offensive staff is for the most part in place. So the key components are it's defensively where losing Bill's significant impact on the offense could play a little bit of a role.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.